Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar this evening. My name is Amy Stewart, and I'll be your host for today's webinar, SB 7070, What You Need to Know If You Have Schools in Turnaround, with James Mills, practice leader with LSI's external operator and district managed turnaround team in Florida, and Libba Lyons, associate director of the LSI Applied Research Center. Before I go ahead and introduce our presenters in detail, I have a few helpful reminders for you today. The presentation is scheduled for about an hour, with 15 minutes for your questions at the end. Your audio lines will be muted during the presentation. However, they will be unmuted during our Q&A session, as we would like to give you the opportunity for open discussion. However, if your microphone is not set up, don't worry, you can still use the question pane or the comment box located on your screen in the GoToWebinar control panel. Lastly, today's webinar will be recorded and a link will be distributed to you via email, so feel free to share this presentation with anyone who was unable to attend today. With that, I would like to introduce today's speakers. James Mills currently serves as a practice leader with LSI's external operator and district managed turnaround team in Florida. James has served as a principal, assistant principal, and middle and high school teacher in the areas of English language arts, reading, and social studies. At the district level, he has served in the roles of Director of Education Transformation Operations and Chief Academic Officer. He has also worked as a regional reading coordinator with the Florida Department of Education's Differentiated Accountability Team, and also served as a Senior Educational Program Director for the Bureau of School Improvement at the Florida Department of Education. Dr. Libba Lyons is the Associate Director of the LSI Applied Research Center. In this role, she seeks and develops partnerships with visionary districts, schools, and communities to create model learning environments where all students thrive. Dr. Lyons is a former school district administrator and teacher, as well as a retired officer of the United States Navy. So, James and Libba, thanks again for being with us today, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Amy. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Before we get started, we've got a question for you, so let's start the poll, Amy.
There you go. Can you see the poll? All right, well, our poll is how familiar are you with the content of SB 7070? And you can select one of the following. Familiar, I know about SB 7070, but don't know the specifics. And I've never heard of SB 7070. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. There we go.
Okay, so the results. Well,
about 100% familiar right now.
Okay, all right, so people feel familiar with it, so that's helpful for James and me to know. That way we know how best to meet your needs during this webinar. So we thank you for your answers there. Just very briefly, SB 7070 is a comprehensive bill, as you know, and establishes and modifies a number of K-12 education programs, notably the Family Empowerment Scholarship Program that has gotten a lot of notice lately. There's some modifications to the award amounts to the Florida Tax Scholarship and the Hope Scholarship programs. It has a revision to the Best and Brightest Teacher and Principal programs and includes an allocation for that within the FEFP. It modifies teacher certification requirements. It provides additional flexibility for districts constructing educational facilities. It established the Community School Grant Program, and it clarifies some provisions involving sponsors of charter schools. Now, with all of that in the law, James and I are really only going to talk about two aspects of it. We're going to talk about the establishment of the Turnaround School Supplemental Services allocation within the FEFP to provide services for traditional public schools that are in or exiting turnaround. And we're going to talk about modifications to the Schools of Hope program that change the definition of persistently low-performing school as well as authorize Schools of Hope charter operators to locate or serve students residing within a Florida Opportunity Zone. The Turnaround School Supplemental Services allocation is intended to provide funds for schools to offer services designed to improve the overall academic and community welfare of the school students and their families. Each school district's allocation must be based on unweighted FTE student enrollment at the eligible schools and provides a per FTE funding amount of $500 or as provided in the General Appropriations Act. Florida DOE has provided to you all a preliminary calculation to use in planning to use these funds. And subject to legislative appropriation, each school will remain eligible for the allocation for a maximum of 4 continuous fiscal years while implementing the turnaround option. In addition, which is a really nice feature of this law, if the school improves to a grade of C or higher, they remain eligible to receive the allocation for a maximum of 2 continuous fiscal years after exiting turnaround status. So to be eligible for these funds, the school must be in district managed turnaround. They must be schools that, or they have to be schools that have earned 3 consecutive grades below a C, and also schools that have improved to a C and are no longer in turnaround status. And those are the ones that can stay in it for 2 years beyond earning the C. The status requires school districts, the statute, requires school districts to develop and submit a plan for implementation to their school board for approval no later than August 1st, which I'm sure you all are working on now, and submit their approved plans to the Florida Department of Education by September 1 of each fiscal year. Now, once the school grades are available for the school year immediately preceding the fiscal year, the supplement will be recalculated for the official participating schools and will be part of the subsequent FEFP calculation. Services funded by this allocation may include, but are not limited to, the things that you see on the screen, the tutorials and student counseling and so forth. And can include an extended school day or school year. In addition, the services may include models that encourage students to complete high school, attend college or career training, and set high academic expectations and inspire character development. Oops, I overdid that one. The law also states that the school district may enter into a formal agreement with a nonprofit organization that has tax-exempt status to implement an integrated student support service model that provides students and families with access to wraparound services such as health services after school, drug prevention, and those types of things. And just as an aside, that since the law established the community school program or the Center for Community Schools, you can see where these funds could be also used to support work with the center. Your application must include the things that you see here on the screen. There are basically seven areas on the application, and if you've taken a look at what Florida DOE gave you, you can see that this follows the pattern of the application form that you received. Now, James, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about some of the fine print in this law, the persistently low-performing schools, its definition and implications.
All right, thank you, Loba, and good afternoon to our attendees. Senate Bill 77 did make a couple of changes to the definition of persistently low-performing schools. Prior to this year's legislation, those schools that had 3 consecutive grades lower than a C met that definition. And based on the changes from this year's past legislative session, any school that has earned 3 consecutive grades lower than a C in at least 3 of the previous 5 years and has not earned a grade of B or higher in the most recent 2 years became eligible. This resulted in a total of from 43 schools last year to currently without the 18-19 school grades, approximately 265 schools now being classified as persistently low performing. So as you can see, this change dramatically increased the definition and the list of these schools. So what is the impact of this? This actually opens the door for what is termed in legislation as School of Hope operators. These School of Hope operators must meet the criteria that's been laid out by the State Board of Education, and they also have to be approved by the State Board of Education. Currently, there are only 4 providers here in the state of Florida that are approved. And currently, one organization, IDEA or IDEA, charter school is currently slated to open 4 schools in Hillsborough County during the 2020-2021 school year. And the information just released yesterday stated that they would open 6 additional schools in Duval County the year following that. So if you were able to view the last State Board of Education meeting, when Superintendent Green provided an update to the State Board of Education, there was some discussion regarding IDEA charter schools, and it appears as though that will be coming to fruition. The only requirement for these schools to open is to submit a notice of intent to locate the school to the local school board, and these take place where districts have one of these 265 persistently low performing schools. However, there's another caveat that quite a few individuals have overlooked, that even if a district does not have an area that has a persistently low performing school in it, if there is a Florida Opportunity Zone within the district, that also allows a School of Hope operator to open. These Florida Opportunity Zones were a part of a tax cut package from the federal government 2 years ago, in which each state had to identify economic opportunity zones, and each state used its own requirements as to the percentage of individuals who met income levels. What we'll see here, these are some of the snapshots that we have taken off from the Department of Economic Opportunities website that indicate some of the areas of Hillsborough and Duval, and I believe we also have Volusia County indicated there as well. And Olivia, what other districts are we showing there?
We have Palm Beach County. We've got Palm Beach, Volusia, Seminole, Hillsborough, and Duval.
And Duval, absolutely. So if you're interested in actually viewing these zones for the entire state of Florida, there is an interactive map on the Department of Economic Opportunities website, which will allow you to zone in. They're all built off what's been termed as census tracts. Those are established every 10 years. And again, the federal government has opened up this opportunity. And so the Florida legislator decided to tie the possibility of opening up a School of Hope in one of these zones in the most recent legislation. So in terms of School of Hope operators, it's not just the typical FTE that you would receive if you were opening up a charter school. School of Hope operators are eligible to receive an additional $2,000 per FTE to assist in the preparation of teachers, school leaders, and support personnel. They also can use those funds to deliver PD. They can use the funds for hiring and compensation until the school reaches full enrollment. They also are able to purchase supplies and equipment, startup costs for student transportation, including contracting with a transportation provider that is not district-based. They can also use the funds for community engagement activities, including student and staff recruitment, and the coverage of non-voted ad valorem millage and required local effort. And what's also very interesting is the funds that have been set aside for initial facility leasing costs. And one of the items that was included in legislation also allows a School of Hope operator access to capital outlay funds in that first year as well. So if it meant consolidating several buildings, it could be in a shopping mall, it could be in a strip mall, to retrofit it out to be a school, those additional funds, even beyond the $2,000 per FTE that first year, would be available to construct a school facility. Again, these schools also have some of the same rights as charter schools do now, dealing with facility usage. And so as a district is required each year to report the percentage of the facility used. For example, if a facility was only 50% or 60% being utilized, a School of Hope would then be authorized, like any other charter school that applied, to open up on a regular school's campus. This issue has already taken place in several schools throughout the state of Florida. What we have done is taking, and some of you may have seen this form before, when a charter school decides to figure out how much money it will receive from the district, and this is strictly on an FTE basis. This doesn't include all of the additional funds that are available. This is a school, a typical elementary school, pardon me, with approximately 700 students. And you'll notice just from an FTE perspective that $3.3 million would be lost to FTE alone. If you add in all the additional funds like the ESC guaranteed allocation, the class size reduction funds, student transportation, also looking at the supplemental academic instruction, digital classrooms allocation, safe schools allocation, instructional materials allocation, the mental health assistance allocation, discretionary millage, and also fund compression, what you can see is just with a school of 700 students, the district would lose a little bit over $5 million if just a regular charter school or a School of Hope operator opened up in one of these areas.
So what we're going to talk about now is how our LSI's DMT and external operator partnership models actually align to the application for the Turnaround School Supplemental Services allocation.
Thank you, Loba. And one of the interesting pieces, once the TSSA application was released, LSI took the opportunity to analyze the current offerings through our district managed turnaround and external operator services, and found that the services that we offer very, very closely align to what's asked for in the application and what's encouraged in legislation. And so under the auspices of comprehensive supports for family and community partnerships with LSI, you would receive quarterly updates to news sources on success and growth of student achievement. We do facilitate community partner outreach. We also have access, a district would have access to the LSI marketing team to support the initiatives that were ongoing. And within our external operator offerings, we also work very closely with the school and community resources to facilitate a mentoring program for at-risk students. Excuse me. Within the category of clearly defined and measurable high academic and character standards, LSI does provide a quarterly rigor diagnostic for baseline and growth measures. We also do provide school leadership coaching and a faculty coach. In our district managed turnaround model, there is school leadership coaching once a week, with faculty coaching also being once a week. And under our external operator offerings, we do offer a part-time school leadership coach, which equates to 10 days per month of leadership coaching and 20 days per month a full-time faculty coach. These two individuals focus very heavily on providing and supporting professional development and coaching support for ELA, math, science, social studies, and CTE, as well as formative assessment operations across each of these areas. One area that is growing and increasingly more and more important in all aspects of education deals with parental involvement and engagement. And one of LSI's approaches in DMT and external operator projects deals with family-friendly customer service guidelines and a welcome center in the school. We don't just focus on teachers and principals and instructional coaches. We also love to work with non-instructional staff and work in developing a family-friendly environment within the school. We also assist schools in developing parent handbooks with links to community service agencies and resources as we support wraparound services. We also work with the school to plan and facilitate quarterly parent nights to review student progress towards standards. And in our external operator projects, we do focus on race, class, and cultural sensitivity and awareness trainings for staff. We also work to develop a tracking system for parent and teacher communication, and also facilitate any type of technical assistance that's needed for Title I Parent Involvement Plan and School Parent Compacts. Our leadership coaches and faculty coaches receive specialized training on a quarterly basis on supporting some of the deliverable requirements that are part of Title I as well to support this. We also work very closely with districts and schools to identify, recruit, retain, and reward instructional personnel. That does look different by each district based on what the district needs and existing infrastructure happens to be. We provide extensive PD and technical assistance on state VAM and teacher placement in terms of which teachers have a history of being effective in which grade levels and which subject areas. And within our external operator projects, we do take the primary responsibility for assignment, coaching, and evaluation of all school personnel. We provide technical assistance for HR processes. This could look anything from facilitating an interview to engaging potential teachers and scenario awareness. We also work very closely to develop a comprehensive plan for teacher recruitment and retention, and also facilitate the development of a beginning teacher support plan. Again, we take whatever the current infrastructure is within a district and work very closely with the district and the school to make sure a robust plan is put in place for identification, recruitment, and retention of instructional personnel. Again, we do pride ourselves on our high quality professional development that leads to academic rigor and supports direct instruction and high academic and character standards. Our academic teaming professional development oftentimes takes the form of job embedded PD and technical assistance for classroom management. Again, we do focus and do work in schools where conditions have previously been an issue. And we also utilize LSI's Ignite series here in Florida, where we focus very heavily on target task alignment, learning targets and success criteria, team talk, mini lesson, and purposeful task. And again, and how all of those techniques work in tandem in the classroom. We do provide follow-up coaching for teachers, PLC leaders, and instructional coaches. And as part of our EO offerings, we also strive to take whatever current curriculum is in place and develop a system of curriculum mapping. Again, one of the areas in the TSSA application that we also support deals with instruction to improve academic efficiency. And we make efforts, whether it's a district-sponsored 21st century program or an external 21st century program, to coordinate the core curriculum and activities that are taking place during the school day with any before and after school programs that currently exist. Another area in LSI's DMT and EO operational practice area deals with building capacity to sustain growth beyond a turnaround. And again, this is a focus of basically LSI working itself out of a job, and this is the area that we pride ourselves in. By using the school comprehensive needs assessment in an EO situation or in our district managed turnaround, we use a school needs assessment to develop an action plan that not only outlines what needs to take place for a school that is being assisted by LSI, but also a plan that could be continued beyond the scope of any time we might be there. This leads to an organization of structures and schedules that maximize coordination across all areas. For example, that might include developing a PLC schedule that allows for participation by the administrative team that brings together the student services team, which would be a social worker, a school psychologist, a guidance counselor, to work very closely with behavior specialists, the admin team, and any other organizations that might be part of the school. We do develop a very robust PBIS Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 system with a special focus on utilizing functional behavior analyses as well as positive behavior intervention plans. We also work closely to develop intervention systems to remedy deficiencies in foundational reading and math. Our efforts with early literacy in grades K to 2 is especially been well received in recent years. And we also work very closely to establish an early warning system and comprehensive MTSS program that can be used to close the achievement gap in subgroups and propel more students to proficiency. As it stands today, this is a list of districts throughout the state of Florida that right now, as currently, are eligible for our TSSA application. It's a long one, but the turnaround schools supplemental allocation. Liva?
Okay, well, now I think Amy, weren't we going to hand it over to our
Yeah.
audience and let them?
We are, yes. Yeah, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute all the microphones. And I would like to open the floor to any questions you may have at this time. Give me 1 second. All right, so all of you are unmuted. I'm just gonna open up the floor and let anyone jump in.
So I have a question.
Okay, great. Hi, Robin.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry, I couldn't tell who it is. All right, so my question is about the letter of intent. Is there any more information about what that is? Is there a timeline on that? Like, for example, could a letter of intent be received before the start of this next school year?
And you're talking about the HOPE operator, right?
Yes, I'm talking about the HOPE operator.
Right, and as it stands now, Robin, what we saw about 3 or 4 months ago from the State Board of Education, Somerset and Jefferson County went before the State Board and basically told them they only needed 60 days to open that entire district with the 3 schools to consolidate them. So from the moment that letter comes, they can be up and running in 60 days, and that's what's in there currently.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to ask, Robin?
No, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have a few questions that just might be informative. Will LSI help in completing the TSSSA application?
Yes, and of course we will absolutely help our partners complete their applications and provide narrative for that.
And one more, if a district has persistently low performing schools and a HOPE charter operator comes into the district, can they automatically take students out of their schools?
Well, they would not physically go into the school and then take them out. However, if a school is not under, if it's underutilized, they have the ability to open up on that particular campus. And what we've seen in a couple of different districts here in the state of Florida is you basically have a school that, for lack of a better term, is cannibalized by the charter school because its marketing group is actually right there. So if a School of Hope operator decides to open up with, say, 300 seats are available on a school that's underutilized, they open up on that same campus, and they would have the ability to market and to use all those funds for those activities we mentioned earlier. And then, of course, there would be nothing that would stop them from marketing to parents and having them switch schools even from the same campus.
Great. Thank you, James. If there are no more questions, I just want to thank all of our attendees and, of course, to our presenters, James and Libba, for your presentation today. As a final reminder, as you exit today, you'll be prompted to take a quick survey. We would appreciate your feedback on the presentation and information today. Lastly, you'll also be receiving a follow-up email with the PDF of this presentation for you to share, contact information, and the recording to share with your colleagues. Libba, James, would you like to add anything else?
No, we're just thanks for joining us, and I hope that this was helpful for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Great. All right. I hope everyone has a good evening.